Yes.
Hello, guten Tag und grüß Gott. Today is Sunday, July 9th, 2023. And what a fine Sunday it is. I have my wife Marge here with me. She's keeping an eye on me, as she usually does. And so this is the first time I'm actually using the um, the good side of the iPhone because all of the videos that I've made are actually iPhone videos, and they've also I've always used the selfie area and the selfie camera. That's what I really wanted to say, because I can see myself on the screen and so forth. But since then, I've gotten a device that actually kind of shows me whether I'm still on the screen or not. If I disappear like that, I know that I've disappeared. And so I'm going to try and do these videos a little more on a professional level. Well, professional is really an overstatement because all of this is stream of consciousness, and so I'm doing the very best I can. But I wanted to use the better cameras which are on the back of the iPhone, because you're always holding up, you're looking at the screen and so on. So I've got myself a little setup where I can actually see that screen, sort of. Okay. So let's see. With that, what shall we talk about? Let me talk about the news. So one of the things that popped into the news here since last week is actually a little bit before that is the situation with Harry and Meghan. So Harry and Meghan, they thought they're gonna kill the fat goose, so to speak, with documentaries. And so they produced some documentaries and they have really flopped. Okay, so what does this mean? Because, Harry is definitely being distanced from the royal family. Well, what's also happening is that we also had the coronation of the king, King Charles. And, and so, these events, along with Harry trying to do his thing and trying to make his life separate with Meghan, um, what's her name? Meghan Merkel or something like that. Yeah, Meghan Merkel. Anyway, so that's not working very well. But there are other things that are really working well because this is the summer of movies. And by the way, we've already gone past the hump, so to speak, toward Christmas. I mean, we've passed June 24th. And I always look at Christmas as December 24th. I know Christmas Day is the 25th, but so here's the thing. I don't know whether this world is just getting older or something, but it just seems like the old guys are ruling. And the guy that's ruling right now, I'm going to show this um, clip here from the Wall Street Journal, and here it is. Behold. So it's Harrison Ford, and we're having another Indiana Jones movie, and it's evidently the last one. But doesn't he look good even at the very end? It kind of shows him from everywhere, from the beginning, all the way to and he looks terrific, and you know what? He's 80 years old. So we're all looking forward to seeing that movie, and it's just an exciting time. So yeah, there's that, and we still have the Ukrainian war. As a matter of fact, we just passed day 500 of the Ukrainian war, and Jesus, still going on. But what was interesting, of course, I think I mentioned it before. This Wagner Group is really causing a problem with the Russian government and Putin, because this guy Prigozhin, who's in charge of the Wagner Group, he decided to march on Moscow, and Moscow had to lock down. Of course, he stopped short and called his forces back, and Putin ordered an arrest warrant for him. But then, the president of Belarus, Lukashenko, mediated some sort of a deal where, the arrest warrant, as far as I'm as far as I heard, has been vacated, and Prigozhin was supposed to be hiding out in exile, in Belarus, but Belarus, Lukashenko says, hey, he isn't here. In fact, they built all kinds of camps, to accommodate something like, I don't know, 6,000 or 10,000 troops or so, and nice tents and everything, brand new, new wooden cots and all the things, the comforts that the troops, would need in order for a really great camp out, right? But no troops. The camps are empty. As a matter of fact, we saw that on TV. Somebody went there to look at the camps, from the news service. Of course, they're still holding the guy from the Wall Street Journal. And that seems to be the thing, is that the Russians are basically, picking off Western news reporters or anybody Western that they can. And, now they have a prisoner, right? And they can exchange it. And, if we have for somebody that we're holding. And so I guess this is what's going to go on. And Russia has really become the enemy of the Western world again, which is just sucky. But the Wagner Group, let me not digress too much from the Wagner Group. They're a real powerful group because they have gold mines in Africa and so forth, and they have a huge standing army in Africa, huge meaning tens of thousands of people that are fighting in Syria and are supporting some of the African dictators, keeping them in power. So this is really a fascinating thing, is that Putin really liked this private army because it distanced himself a little bit from criticism, when he took over Crimea. Well, these were just patriots that came and rescued, our Russian brethren. And also in the Donbass, the Wagner Group was fighting for the Russians. But now Putin is trying to basically take over the Russians, saying, hey, if you sign up with the Russian military, we'll give you amnesty and so on and so forth. And, I mean, he does recognize that it's basically a band of criminals. So that kind of got me to thinking about our Second Amendment, actually. Because, the Second Amendment says, that a well-regulated militia is okay. So where Putin really fucked up, is he did not have a well-regulated militia. He did have the militia, but it was not well-regulated. And now, who knows? As a matter of fact, if Prigozhin is in Russia right now, I mean, he's got his private army. Nobody can touch him. It would take a nuclear bomb to take this guy out. So that's it. I want to pay attention to something else, and that is, it's the Muslim pilgrimage time, for the Great Hajj. And normally we see these pictures, of the Muslims, walking around in throngs around this what they call the Kaaba, which is that big cube, in Mecca. And people have suggested that after 9/11, we should have bombed the cube in Mecca. I'm glad we didn't, because that might have been a little bit over the top, but it certainly would have. I don't know what it would have done, but think about it. If you destroy, even in revenge, a people's most holy or coveted shrine, I don't know what will happen. Bad things will happen. So what's interesting about this particular Hajj, and I didn't realize that before, is they're also flocking to Mount Ararat. And they're actually kind of storming Mount Ararat, and here's why. Muhammad had his last sermon, preached his last sermon on Mount Ararat. And of course, we think that that Noah's Ark is somewhere buried over there, right? But Mount Ararat is kind of an interesting thing. So here's the Wall Street Journal showing the Muslims gathering on Mount Ararat. Can you see that? Mm-hmm. Okay. So what's happening is, why do Muslims gather on Mount Ararat now? Yes, so Muhammad preached his last sermon there, but it's actually the mountain of forgiveness, which is interesting. So these Muslims are flocking that mountain and pray for forgiveness. So are these thousands of people really badasses? I don't know. Okay, maybe I'm making too much fun of this, but it's a good thing, to every once in a while, to reflect on, could you have done better? So the Armenians, of course, they're looking at Mount Ararat, which is now in Turkey, and saying, damn, that used to be our land. Okay. So what else is new? Let's see. What else is new? So do you remember the Chinese spy balloons that flew over there? Okay, so we really took one down, over the Atlantic Ocean, okay, in shallow waters, I think, or something. And so when we examined that stuff that was in there, which, the Chinese, said it was all weather balloons, and, why are you bothering a weather balloon, It turns out that it's all U.S.-made spy equipment. Jesus, So the Chinese, and we know that they've transmitted data, with that equipment, So evidently they're still not hot enough, to make their own spy equipment, so they use ours, Well, it's probably cheaper or something. Well, on the other hand, they're probably producing it for us, since we think it's ours, and it's actually theirs. What the hell, right? So, yeah. I just want to mention one more thing, about the Supreme Court decisions. Of course, now we're having all the fallout, about affirmative action being dead in the schools, and maybe affirmative action will be dead in business, and so on and so forth. And but what really seems to be dead, is, one can refuse service to same-sex couples if it goes against your grain. And you know what? I call that religious freedom. All right. If you have a belief, that you can't serve Muslims, or if a Muslim has a belief that he can't serve Christians, or if a Christian has a belief that he can't serve LGBTQ alphabet people, then yeah, that should be their right. Do you have any opinions on that, Mom? Okay. So another thing is that the Strait of Hormuz, which is that area where the Iranians and the Americans, run into each other. So the Iranians, they actually have some warships, and so they tried to capture a couple of oil tankers, and they were shooting at them and telling them to stop and stuff. But it just so happens that the American Navy was close by, and they brought in their heavy artillery, and the Iranians thought, well, maybe we ought to not do that. And so they went away. Another thing that is going on right now, and the reason I'm talking about the news is, of course, you know the news, and this is not news to you, because if you're looking at it contemporaneously right now, this is what's happening around you, and you probably have even better opinions than I have. But I'm trying to leave a legacy of these things, of my opinion of the news, okay, my take on the news. So there are riots in France. France is on fire, and this has been going on for weeks now. People have been rioting.
And they set the mayor's house on fire.
They set the mayor's house on fire, and the people, the French are really kind of pissed off, about this, and they're now looking at, was it such a good idea to make guns illegal in France and so forth? Because here these rioters, they're killing people, and they're robbing houses, they're destroying stuff, and it's the immigrants that are doing it. And it all started, with the cops, killing an immigrant boy, I guess. And, typically one probably ran from the cops, which is what happens here all the time, among minorities and so forth. And yeah, so You know, there we are. You know, and France is on fire. But you know, there's war in the Ukraine, in the Western world. There are troubles everywhere. You know, wokeness is pervading a lot of nations. You know, they're experimenting with this shit. But you know, the French, you know, while the country's on fire, hey, there they are. They're not going to be denied their their fashion shows. Okay. So that was yeah, that's pretty good. It's pretty good for news, you know. So I just want to finish off with one more thing. Hey, you know what? We have an electric Rolls Royce. There is an electric Rolls Royce, guys. An electric Rolls Royce. Wow. I'm peering from behind the thing.
Yeah, you can see it.
Okay. So this guy, it's a really great electric car. You know, I mean, you know, it's a Rolls Royce fashion. You know, the leather and all that kind of stuff. And 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds. You know, estimated 260 miles.
My Plaid's better.
And you see, that's exactly what this guy's actually writing about. You know, he's saying, you know, while he's talking about this 260 miles, EPA says, here, the part where Tesla fans come out of either to say Tesla Model S Plaid is nearly twice the car performance, range, and efficiency technology at a quarter of the price. Yeah, the Rolls Royce. Base price, you know. You know, if you don't get the martini glass and stuff, you know, it's a mere $420,000. But let me tell you something, you know. Do you think these guys that buy the electric car, you know, at only 260 miles of range, do you think they'll have range anxiety?
No, they're chauffeurs.
Of course not. You know, there are people that may have range anxiety, but they don't have range anxiety. They just say, bring me my car, you know. You know, so anyway, and and 420,000. Oh, buy me a couple of them, you know, one in red and one in green. I don't know. Anyway, so I just wanted to do this video here, and with my new camera set up with the help of my wife Marge, and so with that, I bid you farewell. Auf Wiedersehen. I'll throw in a new word, servus, until we meet again. And we must infect the universe with us.